Commander Jiwan Park walked through the busy halls of Haven's Rest trading station. The metal floors rang with her boots as she moved past aliens from many different worlds. Some had blue skin, others had too many arms, and a few floated in the air instead of walking. This was normal for her now. After 5 years working with aliens, she had seen almost everything. Today was important. She was here to talk with the Villani Empire about trade deals. The Villani were tall, gray-skinned aliens with long faces and big black eyes. They were proud and did not like humans very much. Most aliens thought humans were weak and stupid. The Villani thought humans were even worse than that. Jiwan did not care what they thought. Her job was to keep peace between humans and aliens. Sometimes that meant being nice to people who hated her. She was good at her job. Minho Choi, her translator, walked beside her. He was nervous and kept checking his data pad. "Commander Park, are you sure about this meeting?" The Villani delegate seemed angry in our last message. "They are always angry, Minho. We just need to be calm and professional." Jiwan stopped at a window that looked out into space. Stars filled the black sky and ships moved like tiny lights between them. Besides, what choice do we have? Earth needs those rare metals, and they have them. The trading station was built in neutral space between human and Villani territory. It was the only place where different species could meet safely. The station spun slowly, making fake gravity so everyone could walk normally. Air recyclers hummed in the walls, mixing atmosphere that all the different aliens could breathe. They walked into the common area, a large room with tables and food stands from many worlds. The smell hit Jiwan first, a mix of spices, chemicals, and things she could not name. Most aliens sat with their own kind. Humans sat with humans. Villani sat with Villani, and so on. It was always like this. That was when she saw them. A female Villani sat alone at a corner table. She was smaller than most Villani, with scars on her gray skin. Next to her was a young Villani child, maybe 5 or 6 years old in human years. The child was shaking and making strange noises. His big black eyes rolled back, and drool came from his mouth. Other Villani in the room looked at them with disgust. Some pointed and whispered. A few laughed. The female Villani, the mother, Jiwan realized, tried to calm her child. She spoke in soft Villani words, but the child did not seem to hear her. "We should go," Minho said quietly. "The meeting starts in 10 minutes. Jiwan watched as more Villani gathered to stare. They did not help. They just watched like it was entertainment. The mother's face showed fear and shame. She tried to pick up her child, but he was too heavy and still shaking. "Commander, we really need to..." The child fell from his chair onto the floor. His body went stiff, then started shaking harder. Foam came from his mouth. The other Villani stepped back, making disgusted faces. One said something that made the others laugh. Jiwan had seen this before. During her military training, she learned basic medical skills. This was a seizure. The child needed help right now or he could die. "Commander Park, don't even think about it." Minho grabbed her arm. "If you interfere, it could ruin the peace. Talks. We can't risk war over one alien child." Jiwan looked at the mother. The Villani female was on her knees beside her son, tears running down her gray face. She begged the other Villani for help in their language. They ignored her. Some walked away. Others kept watching and laughing. No one helped. "The meeting, Commander," Minho said again. "Think about Earth. Think about the thousands of human lives that depend on this deal." Jiwan thought about it. She thought about her orders. She thought about her career. She thought about the peace between humans and Villani. She thought about all the reasons why she should walk away. Then she looked at the child again. He was so small. His mother loved him. That was clear from how she touched his face and spoke to him. But no one else cared. To them, he was nothing. "Take notes at the meeting," Jiwan said, pulling her arm free. "Tell them I was delayed." "Commander, no." But Jiwan was already moving. She pushed through the crowd of Villani who hissed and moved away from her. Humans were not supposed to touch Villani without permission. It was against their customs. Jiwon did not care about customs right now. She knelt beside the child and gently turned him on his side. This would help him breathe and stop him from choking. The mother looked at her with surprise and fear. She said something in Villani that Jiwon did not understand. "Medical emergency," Jiwon said in basic Galactic Common, hoping the mother understood. She pulled out her emergency medical kit and found a small device that would stop seizures. Human and Villani biology were different, but this should work. The Villani mother grabbed Jiwon's wrist. Her grip was strong, and her black eyes were wide. She said something that sounded like a question. Jiwon could see the fear in her face, not just for her child, but fear of what the human might do. "I want to help," Jiwon said slowly. "Help your son." The mother stared at her for a long moment. Around them, the crowd of Villani grew larger and angrier. They were saying things that sounded like insults. Some moved closer, like they might try to stop Jiwon. Finally, the mother nodded and let go of Jiwon's wrist. Jiwon pressed the medical device against the child's neck. A soft blue light came from it, and slowly, the shaking stopped. The child's breathing became normal. His eyes focused again, and he looked up at his mother. The mother said something in Villani, her voice full of love and relief. The child tried to answer, but only strange sounds came out. He seemed frustrated and started to cry. Jiwon helped the mother lift the child back into his chair. The boy was weak but alive. He looked at Jiwon with curious black eyes, then reached out and touched her hand with one gray finger. The crowd of Villani was quiet now. They stared at Jiwon like she had done something impossible. A few whispered to each other, but most just watched. "Thank you," the mother said in broken Galactic Common. Her voice was soft and full of emotion. "You helped. Why?" Jiwon looked at the child who was now holding his mother's hand. Because he needed help. It was that simple. But as Jiwon walked away to find Minho and explain why she had missed the most important meeting of her career, she did not know that this simple act would change everything. She did not know that news of what she had done would spread across the galaxy. She did not know that this moment would start a war, end an empire, and save millions of lives. All she knew was that a child had needed help, and she had given it. That was enough. 3 days had passed since Jiwon helped the Villani child. The peace talks were over, and they had not gone well. The Villani delegate had been insulted that Jiwon missed their meeting. He said humans had no respect for important matters. The trade deal was dead. Minho blamed Jiwon, but he did it quietly. Captain Do-Yun Lee of their ship had been less quiet. He called Jiwon to his office and shouted for an hour about duty and following orders. But Jiwon did not regret what she did. She was packing her things when the message came. It was sent to her personal communicator, not through official channels. The message was short and in broken Galactic Common. "Meet me. Dock 7, midnight. Come alone. Kira." Jiwon did not know anyone named Kira, but something told her this was about the child she had helped. She decided to go. Dock 7 was in the old part of Haven's rest station. The lights were dim, and the air smelled like rust and old machines. Ships here were older and cheaper. This was where people came when they did not want to be noticed. Jiwon found the meeting spot near an empty cargo bay. She waited in the shadows, her hand near her weapon. Meeting unknown aliens in dark places was dangerous, but she had to know what this was about. "You came." The voice spoke from behind a stack of metal boxes. "I was not sure you would." The Villani female stepped into the light. It was the mother from the common area. She looked tired and scared. Her gray skin was paler than before, and her big black eyes kept looking around like she expected trouble. "You're Kira," Jiwon said. It was not a question. "Yes, and you are Commander Jiwon Park, the human who helped my son." Kira's Galactic Common was better now, like she had been practicing. "I need to talk to you about Nael. Your son's name is Nael?" Kira nodded. "In our language, it means bright star. I named him that because I hoped he would shine in the world. Her voice became sad. But my people see only darkness in him. Jiwan stepped closer. What do you mean? Kira looked around again, then moved deeper into the shadows. Come, we cannot talk here, too many ears. They walked through the old docks until they reached a small room that smelled like cleaning chemicals. It was a storage closet, but Kira had made it into a hiding place. There were blankets on the floor and food in boxes. This was where she and her son were living. Nael was there, sitting quietly in the corner. When he saw Jiwan, his black eyes got wide, and he made happy sounds. He could not speak, but Jiwan could see he remembered her. Hello, Nael, Jiwan said, gently. The boy reached out to touch her hand again, just like before. He likes you, Kira said, sitting on the floor. That is unusual. Nael does not like most people, even our own kind. Jiwan sat down too. Why are you hiding here? What's wrong? Kira was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice shook. My son is broken. In Villani society, broken. Children are not allowed to live. What do you mean? Villani communicate through our minds. We share thoughts without speaking. It is how we connect, how we love, how we live. Kira touched her son's face. But Niall cannot do this. His mind does not work the right way. To my people, he is not really alive. Jiwan felt sick. They want to kill him? They call it recycling. They say broken children waste resources. They say keeping them alive makes the species weak. Tears ran down Kira's gray face. The law says all defective offspring must be given to the state before their 7th birthday. Niall will be 7 in 2 months. But you won't let them take him. I was a military officer, high rank, good family. I had honor and respect. Kira's hands became fists. I gave it all up to protect my son. Now we are nothing. We hide in storage rooms and eat garbage. But at least Niall is alive. Jiwan watched the boy play with a small toy made from scrap metal. He seemed happy, even in this awful place. He was just a child who wanted to play and be loved. The idea that anyone would want to kill him made her angry. There has to be something we can do, Jiwan said. Like what? I cannot hide forever. They are looking for us. Soon they will find us, and then... Kira could not finish the sentence. Jiwan thought about the medical device she had used to stop Nail's seizure. Human technology was different from Villani technology. Maybe there was a way to help him communicate. What if we could fix his mind? Help him connect with other Villani? Kira shook her head. Impossible, many have tried. Our best doctors, our smartest scientists, nothing works. But they're Villani scientists. What about human scientists? For the first time, hope appeared in Kira's eyes. You think your people could help? I don't know, but I know someone who might. Jiwan thought about Dr. Hana Kim, the smartest person she had ever met. Hana worked on a research ship studying alien biology. If anyone could help Nail, it would be her. But there's a problem, Jiwan continued. She's in human space. We would have to take you and Nail there. That would be kidnapping, Kira said quietly. Your people and mine would call it an act of war. Not if you came willingly. Not if you asked for help. Kira held her son close. And if your scientists cannot help? What then? Jiwan did not have an answer for that. If they failed, Kira and Nael would be refugees with nowhere to go. They could never return to Villani space. But if they stayed here, Nael would die for sure. I cannot make this choice for you, Jiwan said. But I promise you this. If you come with us, we will do everything we can to help your son, even if it costs us everything. Kira looked at Niall, who was starting to get sleepy. She spoke to him in soft Villani words, and he made happy sounds back. It was not real communication, but it was love. I have been thinking about your people, Kira said finally. About what you did in the common area. Other Villani said you were stupid to help. They said humans are weak because you care about broken things. What do you think? I think maybe being weak is better than being strong if strength means letting children die. Kira looked at Jiwan with her big black eyes. Yes, I will come with you. When do we leave? tonight. But first, I need to talk to my captain. This won't be easy. 2 hours later, Jiwon stood in Captain Do-hyun Lee's office again. But this time, she was the one doing the shouting. You want me to do what? Captain Lee stared at her like she had lost her mind. Help them escape. Take them to Dr. Hana Kim's research ship. Give the boy a chance to live. Commander Park, have you completely lost your mind? Do you know what this would mean? The Villani would call it kidnapping. They might declare war. A war over what? A mother trying to save her child? A war over humans interfering in Villani internal affairs. Captain Lee walked around his desk. I will not risk the lives of my crew for 2 aliens. Then don't risk your crew. Let me take a shuttle. I'll go alone. Absolutely not. Jiwon had expected this. Captain Lee was a good man, but he always followed orders. He never took risks if he could avoid them, but this time she would not give up. Captain, I've served with you for 3 years. Have I ever asked you for anything? That's not the point. The point is that a child will die if we do nothing. A child who did nothing wrong except be born different. Jiwon's voice got louder. What kind of people are we if we let that happen? Captain Lee was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. Even if I wanted to help, which I don't, we would need permission from Earth Command. That would take weeks. You said the boy has 2 months? Less now. And Earth Command would never approve this. We both know that. Then we can't help them. Jiwon looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, with its blue oceans and green forests. Earth, where different kinds of people lived together. Earth, where being different did not mean you had to die. What if we don't ask permission? She said quietly. Captain Lee stared at her. Commander Park, are you suggesting we disobey direct orders? I'm suggesting we do what's right. What's right is following orders and maintaining peace between species. What's right is saving an innocent child. They stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, Captain Lee shook his head. I can't do it, Commander. I won't risk my ship and crew. I'm sorry. Jiwon nodded slowly. She had expected this too. Then I guess I'll have to find another way. As she left the captain's office, Jiwon was already making plans. She would not let Niall die. Even if she had to steal a ship and become a criminal, she would not let that bright star go dark. Behind her, Captain Lee sat alone in his office, staring at his orders from Earth Command. They were very clear about not interfering in alien affairs. But they said nothing about what to do when alien affairs involved murdering children. For the first time in his career, Captain Do-hyun Lee began to wonder if following orders was always the right thing to do. Captain Do-hyun Lee could not sleep. He walked the halls of his ship thinking about Jiwon's words. A child would die if they did nothing. That thought kept repeating in his mind like a broken recording. He found himself outside the shuttle bay. Through the windows, he could see Jiwon loading supplies into a small shuttle. She was really going to do this. She was going to steal a shuttle and try to save 2 aliens by herself. Commander Park? His voice made her jump. She turned around, her face showing surprise and guilt. Captain, I was just checking the shuttle systems. With medical supplies and food for a week? Jiwon said nothing. There was no point in lying now. Captain Lee walked into the shuttle bay. Do you really think you can fly to human space alone? With no weapons, no backup, and 2 aliens who might be tracked by Villani ships? I have to try. You'll get yourself killed. And probably them too. Maybe. But at least I'll have tried to do something right. Captain Lee was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his orders. He thought about his career. He thought about the war that might start if they were caught. Then he thought about his own daughter back on Earth. She was 8 years old, with bright eyes and a laugh that made him smile even when he was far from home. What if someone wanted to kill her just because she was different? Damn it, he said quietly. We'll take the ship. Jiwon stared at him. What? You heard me. We'll take the whole ship. If we're going to do something stupid, we might as well do it right. Captain, You don't have to. Yes, I do. Captain Lee's voice was firm. No child should die because they're different. Human or alien, it doesn't matter. We're going to save that boy. 3 hours later, Kira and Nael were hidden in the guest quarters of the human ship. Nael was excited by all the new things to see. The ship's artificial gravity felt different to him, and the walls hummed with sounds he had never heard before. His mother watched him explore with wonder and fear. How long until we reach your research ship? Kira asked Ji-won. 2 days if we push the engines. Dr. Hana Kim is already preparing her lab. Ji-won had sent a coded message to Dr. Kim explaining the situation. Hana's reply had been short. Bring them quickly. This could work. Dr. Hana Kim was the best xenobiologist in human space. She had studied dozens of alien species and understood their biology better than anyone. If she said it could work, then maybe there was real hope. The journey to the research ship Sunrise was tense. Everyone knew they were breaking major laws. If they were caught, Captain Lee would lose his command. Ji-won would go to prison. The crew might be court-martialed, but no one complained. The crew had voted, and the result was clear. They would help save Nael. When they reached the Sunrise, Dr. Hana Kim was waiting for them. She was a small woman with kind eyes and hands that never stopped moving. She took one look at Nael and smiled. Hello there, she said in simple galactic common. My name is Hana. I'm going to help you talk to people. Nael made happy sounds and reached out to touch her hair. It was black and shiny, different from his mother's gray skin. Dr. Kim laughed and let him play with it. Can you really help him? Kira asked. Her voice was full of hope and fear. I think so. Come, let me show you what we're going to try. Dr. Kim led them to her laboratory. It was full of strange machines and computers that hummed and blinked with lights. Her team was already there. Sunho Yang, an engineer who built impossible devices, and Yoonji Seo, who studied how different species communicated. Villani telepathy works through bioelectric fields in the brain, Dr. Kim explained. Nael's brain produces these fields, but they're too weak for other Villani to detect. It's like he's speaking in a whisper when everyone else is shouting, "Ya." Showed them a small device that looked like a metal headband with tiny lights on it. This neural interface will amplify his brain's signals and translate them into patterns that other Villani can understand. It will also work in reverse, helping him understand telepathic communication from others. You built this in 2 days? Ji-won was amazed. Sunho Yang grinned. We've been working on neural interfaces for years. We just had to modify the design for Villani biology. The hard part was the translation software, Yoonji Seo added. Villani telepathy isn't just words. It's emotions, memories, and concepts all mixed together. We had to teach the computer to understand how they think. Dr. Kim knelt down next to Nael. Would you like to try it? It won't hurt, I promise. Nael looked at his mother. Kira spoke to him in gentle Villani words, then nodded at Dr. Kim. He says yes, very carefully. Dr. Kim placed the neural interface on Nael's head. The small lights began to glow softly. Machines in the laboratory started making quiet beeping sounds. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Nael's eyes went wide. He looked around the room like he was seeing it for the first time. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Is it working? Kira whispered. Dr. Kim watched the readouts on her machines. The interface is active. Nael, can you hear me? Nael turned to look at her. His lips moved, but still no sound. Then from a speaker on the wall came a voice. It was young and clear, speaking in perfect galactic common. I can hear you. I can hear everything. Everyone in the room froze. The voice was coming from Nael, but through the computer system. The neural interface was working. Kira started crying. She fell to her knees and pulled her son into her arms. For the first time in his life, she could hear his thoughts clearly. Mother? Nael's voice came through the speakers again. Why are you crying? Because I'm happy, Kira sobbed. Because I can finally hear you. I have so many things to tell you, Nael said. His voice was full of excitement. I've been watching and listening for so long, but I couldn't say anything. I know about the stars and the ships and the different people. I know about the bad Villani who want to hurt me. But I also know about the good humans who want to help. He turned to look at Jiwon. You're the one who helped me when I was sick. Why did you do that? Jiwon felt tears in her own eyes. Because you needed help. But I'm not human. I'm not even a good Villani. Why would you care about me? Because every life is important. Because you're a person, not a thing. Because helping others is what makes us human. Nael was quiet for a moment, processing this. Then he said something that made everyone in the room understand why this moment would change the galaxy. If being human means helping people who are different, then I want to be human too. Dr. Kim wiped her eyes and checked her machines again. The interface is working perfectly, but Nael will need to wear it all the time for it to work. We can make it smaller and more comfortable, but he'll always need it. That's fine, Kira said quickly, as long as he can communicate. There's something else, Dr. Kim continued. This technology could help other Villani children like Nael. We could make more interfaces, help more families. My people would never allow it, Kira said sadly. They would rather kill the children than change their laws. Then maybe it's time to change your people, Jiwon said. The next few days were busy. Dr. Kim's team worked to improve the neural interface and make it more comfortable for Nael. They also built a portable version that Kira could use to communicate with her son even when she was far away. Nael loved his new ability to communicate. He asked endless questions about everything he saw. He wanted to know how the ship worked, what Earth was like, and why humans had different colored skin. His curiosity was incredible, but the peace could not last forever. On the 5th day, alarms started ringing throughout the sunrise. Captain Lee to Dr. Kim, came the voice over the ship's communication system. We have a problem. 3 Villani warships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're demanding we return their stolen citizens. Dr. Kim looked at Kira, who had gone very pale. They found us. How? Jiwon asked. It doesn't matter, Kira said. Her voice was shaking. What matters is that they're here, and they will take Nael. Through the laboratory's windows they could see the Villani ships. They were huge and dark, with weapons that could destroy the research ship in seconds. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned. Nael, still wearing his neural interface, listened to the adult conversation with wide eyes. Are the bad Villani going to take me away? Kira hugged him tightly. I won't let them. But you can't fight. They're big ships. No, Jiwon said, her mind working quickly. But maybe we don't have to fight them. Maybe we can show them something instead. She turned to Dr. Kim. Can you broadcast Nael's thoughts? Let the Villani ships hear him communicate? Yes, but why would that help? Because right now, they think he's broken and worthless. What if we prove them wrong? Dr. Kim began working on her machines. I can patch the neural interface into our communication system, but Nael would have to be brave. He would have to talk to the same people who want to hurt him. Nael looked up at his mother, then at the humans who had helped him. Will it save other children like me? It might, Jiwon said honestly. Then I'll do it. Nael's young voice was steady and sure. I'm not afraid anymore. Outside, the Villani warships moved closer, their weapons charged, ready to fire. Inside the research ship, a 6-year-old boy prepared to speak words that would shake an empire. The battle for Nael's life was about to begin. But this would not be a battle fought with weapons. It would be fought with something much more powerful, the voice of a child who refused to be silenced. The communication channel opened with a crackle of static. The voice that came through was cold and commanding, speaking in the harsh tones of military Villani. Human vessel Sunrise, this is War Commander Vexara of the Villani Imperial Fleet. Yubi are harboring stolen Villani citizens. Return them immediately or we will take them by force. Captain Lee's voice responded calmly. War Commander, we have 2 Villani refugees who came to us asking for help. They are here by choice. Choice? Vexara's laugh was like breaking glass. The defective offspring has no choice in anything. It is property of the Vellani Empire, to be disposed of according to our laws. The female Kira is a criminal who stole Imperial property. In the laboratory, Kira held Nael close. Her son could hear every word through his neural interface. His young face showed confusion and hurt. Mother, why do they call me property? I'm not a thing. You're not property, my bright star. You're my son, and you're perfect just as you are. Dr. Kim finished connecting the neural interface to the ship's communication system. Nael, when you're ready, just think about what you want to say. Everyone will be able to hear you. Nael nodded. His small hands were shaking, but his voice was steady when it came through the speakers. War Commander Vexara, this is Nael. I am not property. I am a person. The silence that followed was complete. No one on any of the ships spoke for long seconds. Finally, Vexara's voice came back, filled with disgust. Impossible. Defective offspring cannot communicate. This is some human trick. It's not a trick, Nael replied. The humans built a device to help me talk. Now you can hear my thoughts, just like any other Vellani. Lies. Defective offspring have no thoughts worth hearing. Then listen to me think. Nael's voice became stronger. I think about the stars and wonder what it would be like to visit them. I think about my mother and how much I love her. I think about the humans who helped me when no one else would. I think about other children like me, and how afraid they must be. Another long silence. When Vexara spoke again, her voice was less certain. Even if this is real, it changes nothing. You are defective. You consume resources without contributing to the Empire. You make our species weak. How do I make us weak? Nael asked. Because I'm different? Because I needed help to communicate? Humans are different from us, but they're not weak. They helped me when my own people wouldn't. Humans are a pathetic species that wastes time on broken things. If caring about others is pathetic, then I want to be pathetic too. Jiwan smiled at Nael's words. This brave little boy was doing something no adult had ever managed. He was making Vexara actually think about her beliefs. War Commander, Captain Lee interrupted. Perhaps this matter should be decided by higher authorities. I request a formal tribunal under galactic law. You have no right to request anything, human. Actually, we do. Dr. Kim had been researching galactic legal codes while they talked. Under the Universal Refugee Protection Act, any being fleeing persecution has the right to a fair hearing. The defective offspring is not a refugee. It is imperial property. That's exactly what this tribunal would decide, Jiwan said, joining the conversation. Whether Nael is a person with rights or just property to be destroyed. Vexara was quiet for several minutes. Finally, she spoke again. Very well. We will convene a tribunal, but it will be held on Haven's Rest Station, under Vellani oversight. And when we prove that the offspring is defective property, we will take it for proper disposal. Agreed, Captain Lee said. But the tribunal must be open to all species. This decision affects more than just Vellani law. Fine. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who steal from the Vellani Empire. The communication channel closed. In the laboratory, Nael looked up at his mother with worried eyes. What's a tribunal, Mother? It's like a big meeting where important people decide what's right and what's wrong, Kira explained. They're going to decide if you're a person or a thing. But I know I'm a person, isn't that enough? It should be, Jiwan said quietly. But sometimes adults make things complicated. 1 week later, Haven's Rest Station was crowded with beings from across the galaxy. News of the tribunal had spread quickly. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when a Vellani child challenged his own empire's laws. The tribunal was held in the station's largest conference room. Representatives from 12 different species sat as judges. War Commander Vexara led the Vellani delegation, her cold eyes showing no mercy. On the other side, Mirai Hong, Earth's best diplomatic lawyer, prepared to defend Nael's right to exist. The room was packed with reporters, diplomats, and curious beings from many worlds. Camera drones floated overhead, broadcasting the proceedings across the galaxy. Nael sat between his mother and Jiwon, wearing his neural interface. He looked very small in the big chair, but his eyes were bright and alert. He was no longer afraid. Judge Zorlan, an ancient being from the Aegis Council, called the tribunal to order. His voice was deep and commanding. We are here to decide a simple question. Is the young Villani known as Nael a sentient being with rights, or is he property of the Villani Empire? War Commander Vexara, present your case. Vexara stood, her tall frame imposing even among the various alien delegates. Honored judges, the matter is simple. Villani law is clear. Offspring born with communication defects are classified as defective. They cannot contribute to society and drain valuable resources. They must be recycled for the good of the species. She pointed at Nael. This offspring was born broken. It cannot communicate through normal Villani telepathy. Therefore it is defective and must be disposed of according to our laws. But Your Honor, Mirai Hong stood up. Nael can communicate. The neural interface allows him to share his thoughts, just like any other Villani. Artificial enhancement does not change the fact that he is naturally defective, Vexara replied. A broken tool does not become unbroken simply because you attach a repair device to it. Are you calling my son a tool? Kira's voice cut through the formal proceedings. She had not been scheduled to speak yet, but her anger overcame protocol. Order, Judge Zorlan commanded. Kira of the Villani, you will have your chance to speak. But Kira was already standing. Your Honor, I was a military officer. I served the Empire for 15 years. I followed orders and believed in our laws. But when my son was born, I learned something that changed everything. She walked to the center of the room, her gray skin pale but her voice strong. Our laws say defective children should die. But I watched my son for 6 years. He never hurt anyone. He never took more than he needed. He loved me and I loved him. How is love defective? How is kindness a waste of resources? Your emotions are irrelevant, Vexara said coldly. Law is law. Then maybe our laws are wrong. The room erupted in shocked whispers. No Villani had ever challenged their empire's laws so directly. Several Villani delegates looked angry, but others seemed thoughtful. Judge Zorlan called for order again. Nael of the Villani, do you wish to speak for yourself? Nael stood up slowly. His neural interface glowed softly as he prepared to speak. When his voice came through the speakers, it was clear and strong. Your Honor, War Commander Vexara says I am broken. She says I cannot contribute to society, but she is wrong. He turned to face Vexara directly. I have been watching and learning for 6 years. I know things about our empire that you don't know. I know about the children who hide in dark places because they're different. I know about the parents who cry when no one is watching. I know about the fear that makes people pretend their children are normal when they're not. Nael's voice grew, stronger. You say I'm defective because I needed help to communicate. But humans needed help to fly, so they built ships. They needed help to see distant things, so they built telescopes. They needed help to heal diseases, so they built medicine. Does that make them defective? That's different, Vexara said, but her voice was less certain than before. How is it different? Because I was born needing help instead of learning to need it later? Murmurs spread through the audience. Several of the judges leaned forward, interested in Nael's words. I want to contribute to society, Nael continued. I want to learn and grow and help others. The only thing stopping me is people who think being different means being worthless. He paused, then said the words that would be remembered across the galaxy. War Commander Vexara, you say I am broken, but I say you are the one who is broken. You cannot see the value in anything that isn't exactly like you. You cannot love something that needs help. You cannot imagine that different might just mean special. The room was completely silent. Even Vexara seemed stunned by the young boy's words. Judge Zorlan spoke carefully. These are serious accusations, young Nael. You're saying that Villani law itself is flawed? Yes, Your Honor, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. As if on cue, the doors to the conference room opened. Dozens of Villani walked in, many carrying children or supporting beings who looked different from normal Villani. Some had the same communication problems as Nael. Others had physical differences or unusual behaviors. At the front of the group was a tall Villani male in military uniform. His insignia showed high rank, almost as high as Vexara's. Commander Zethus. Vexara stared at her former colleague in shock. What is the meaning of this? Commander Zethus walked to the center of the room. The 3 days of recess felt like 3 years. News of the tribunal had spread across the galaxy, and every species was watching to see what would happen. On Villani Prime, the homeworld of the Empire, protests had begun. Some Villani demanded that Niall be returned for execution. Others called for an end to the recycling program. The Villani government was in chaos. Emperor Thranex had ruled for 40 years with absolute power, but now his own people were questioning laws that had stood for centuries. Emergency meetings were held in secret chambers, and military forces were put on high alert. On Haven's Rest station, Niall spent his time learning about different species and cultures. His neural interface allowed him to access the station's vast library systems, and his hunger for knowledge seemed endless. He read about human history, Aegis philosophy, and dozens of other civilizations. Did you know, he told his mother one evening, that humans used to fight wars over skin color, but they learned that being different didn't make anyone less human. Kira smiled sadly. Yes, my bright star. Humans learned to value differences. I wish our people could learn the same lesson. Maybe they will, Jiwan said, joining their conversation. Your testimony has given many Villani the courage to speak up. Commander Zethus says thousands more families are coming forward. It was true. Each day brought new Villani to the station. Parents with hidden children, doctors who had refused to perform recycling procedures, and military officers who questioned their orders. The hidden truth was finally coming to light. But not everyone supported change. War Commander Vexara had spent the 3 days trying to maintain order and preserve the old ways. She held emergency meetings with loyal military commanders, planning how to crush the growing rebellion. This madness must end, she told her officers. One defective offspring and some sentimental humans cannot be allowed to destroy thousands of years of Villani law. But War Commander, said Captain Yakris, one of her most trusted subordinates, the evidence Commander Zethus presented, some of those children we recycled weren't truly defective. What if we made mistakes? Vexara's eyes went cold. There were no mistakes. Our laws are perfect. The offspring are defective, and defective things must be removed, even if they can be helped, even if they can contribute. Especially then. If we start making exceptions, where does it end? Soon we'll be keeping every broken thing alive, and our empire will become weak like the humans. But privately, Vexara was troubled. She had seen Nael communicate, had heard his intelligent thoughts and brave words. If he could be helped, how many others could have been saved? The doubt ate at her like acid. When the tribunal reconvened, the conference room was even more crowded than before. Representatives from 20 species had arrived to witness the verdict. The galactic media called it the most important legal decision in a century. Judge Zorlan looked older and more tired than before. The evidence he had reviewed had clearly affected him deeply. Before we render our verdict, he announced, we will hear final statements from both sides. War Commander Vexara, you may speak first. Vexara stood, her military uniform perfect and her posture straight, but her usual confidence seemed shaken. Honored judges, the Villani Empire has existed for 3,000 years. We are the strongest military force in this sector of the galaxy. We have achieved this strength through discipline, order, and the elimination of weakness. She paused, her eyes finding Nael in the crowd. The offspring known as Nael may have been enhanced by human technology, but this does not change what he is a burden on society. If we allow defective offspring to live, we will become weak. Our enemies will see this weakness and destroy us. But what if strength comes from protecting the weak, not destroying them? The voice came from the audience. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was another Villani child wearing a neural interface similar to Nail's. She was older, maybe 10 years old, and her gray skin was marked with scars that showed she had been hidden away for years. "Order," Judge Zorlan called. "This interruption is not permitted." "Please, Your Honor," the girl said. "Let me speak. My name is Vera. I was supposed to be recycled when I was 5. My parents hid me instead. For 5 years I lived in dark rooms and empty buildings. But now I have a voice and I want to use it." Judge Zorlan looked around the room, then nodded. "You may speak briefly." Vera walked to the center of the room, her neural interface glowing softly. "War Commander Vexara says we make the Empire weak. But I think she's wrong. I think we make it stronger." "How could defective offspring possibly make us stronger?" Vexara demanded. "Because we see things differently. Because we ask questions that others don't ask. Because we find solutions that others can't find." Vera's voice grew stronger. "Humans became powerful not by being perfect, but by helping each other be better. They build tools to help the weak become strong. They share knowledge to help the ignorant become wise. They show love to help the broken become whole." She turned to face the judges. "Your Honors, I have spent 5 years studying everything I could learn. I know more about engineering than most adult Villani. I know more about other species than our diplomats. I know more about kindness than our leaders. How does this make me defective?" The room was silent, except for the soft humming of recording devices. Vera's words had touched something deep in everyone present. Judge Zorlan spoke carefully. "You raise important points, young Vera. But we must now hear from the other side. Mirai Hong, present your final argument." The human lawyer stood, her expression serious but hopeful. "Your Honors, this case is not really about one child. It's about what kind of galaxy we want to live in. Do we want a galaxy where being different means death? Where needing help means you have no value? Where love is considered weakness?" She gestured to Nail and Vera. "These children represent something beautiful, the potential for growth, for change, for becoming better than we are. The Villani Empire says they're defective. I say they're evolution." "The human concept of evolution is different from ours," Vexara interrupted. "Yes, it is, and that's exactly the point." Mirai's voice grew passionate. "Humans evolve by adapting, by changing, by helping each other survive. We don't eliminate the different. We celebrate them. We don't destroy the weak. We help them become strong. This isn't weakness, this is wisdom." She turned to address the entire room. "Your Honors, distinguished delegates, the evidence is clear. The Villani recycling program has killed thousands of children who could have contributed to society. It has created a culture of fear where parents must choose between their children and their citizenship. It has made an entire empire weaker by throwing away its most precious resource, the minds that think differently." Judge Zorlan nodded slowly. "We have heard all arguments. The tribunal will now deliberate." The judges left the room and the waiting began. Hours passed. Nail played quietly with other children, both Villani and human, who had gathered to support him. Kira sat with other Villani parents, sharing stories of hidden children and secret hopes. Commander Zethus had been busy during the recess. He approached Vexara as she stood alone watching the children play. "Vexara, we served together for 20 years. I've seen you be brave, honorable, and loyal, but I've never seen you be cruel. Why are you fighting so hard to kill children?" Vexara was quiet for a long moment. "Because that's what the law requires. Because that's what makes us strong." "Does it? Look at those children playing together. Look how the human children help the Villani children with their interfaces. Look how happy they all are. Does that look weak to you?" Vexara watched as Nael helped a younger Villani girl adjust her neural interface. The girl had been born with physical differences that made walking difficult, but with human-designed support equipment, she could move around freely. She was laughing as Nail showed her how to use her new communication device. "Zethus," Vexara said quietly, "what if we're wrong? What if I've been wrong my whole life? Then we change. We become better. Isn't that what evolution really means?" Before Vexara could answer, the judges returned. The room fell silent as Judge Zorlin prepared to announce the verdict. After careful consideration of all evidence and testimony, this tribunal has reached a unanimous decision. His voice carried the weight of history. "We find that Nael, and all beings like him, are sentient individuals with full rights under galactic law. The Vellani practice of recycling disabled children is hereby declared a violation of universal rights and must cease immediately." The room exploded in celebration. Humans cheered, progressive Vellani wept with joy, and reporters rushed to broadcast the news. But Judge Zorlin wasn't finished. "Furthermore, we order the immediate establishment of medical and educational facilities to help disabled Vellani children. The galactic community will provide support and resources for this transition." And finally, Judge Zorlin's voice rose above the noise. "We call upon the Vellani people to choose new leadership that reflects these values of compassion and inclusion." The last statement was a shock. The tribunal was essentially calling for regime change in the Vellani Empire. Emperor Thranex would never accept this verdict, which meant the Empire was heading for civil war. As if summoned by the thought, emergency alerts began sounding throughout the station. Captain Lee's voice came over the communication system.